They said the enemy snipers were ghosts, unseen, untouchable, and merciless. For weeks, they had pinned down entire platoons, killing anyone who dared lift their head above the dirt. But the moment she stepped into that forward operating base, the air shifted. Men who had spent years in war-hardened SEALs, veterans of the worst battlefields on Earth, found themselves staring at her like she de-walked in from another world, because no one believed the rumors. No one believed one woman could track the ghosts who hunted them. Like, subscribe, and click the bell icon for more stories. The sun was sinking when Lieutenant Maya Rourke arrived, quiet, lean, and carrying a rifle case that looked older than she was. Dust storms rolled across the compound, shaping the evening into a cold orange haze. The camera would glide behind her as she took slow, careful steps, her boots sinking into the dirt like she already knew what this mission would cost her. And maybe she did. Her eyes had that look, not of someone brave, but someone who had lost too much to ever fear anything again. A group of SEALs stood by the sandbag wall, studying the ridgeline through scopes and binoculars. The mountain range ahead looked calm, almost peaceful. But it wasn't. Somewhere out there, hidden among stone and shadows, were the snipers who had already taken 6 lives in a single week. The men barely noticed Maya until she set down her case beside them. When she opened it, the metallic click seemed to silence the whole outpost. No one spoke. Inside lay a battered black sniper rifle, scratched, worn, but immaculate where it mattered. The kind of weapon that didn't belong to someone inexperienced. Maya lifted it gently, inspecting each detail as if she were touching something sacred. The wind carried the low hum of distant gunfire from another valley, but here everything felt suspended. Even the dust in the air seemed to pause. Chief Petty Officer Hell, the oldest SEAL among them, finally stepped forward. His voice was low, guarded. "Ma'am, those snipers out there aren't regular fighters. They're trained. Fast. Every time we think we've located one, 2 more fire from the opposite ridge." His jaw tightened. "We can't get a reading." Maya didn't answer at first. She just adjusted her scope, wiped dirt off the barrel, and rested the rifle across her knees. When she finally looked up, her voice was soft but steady. "Then stop trying to find them," she murmured. "Let them show themselves." Hale frowned. "Show themselves. They haven't done that once." "They will," Maya whispered. "Tonight." As the wind picked up, rattling the metal sheets on nearby barracks, she stood and walked to the edge of the observation post. The camera would track her from the side, the fading sunset casting long, sharp shadows across her face. She lay down, settled her rifle, and pressed her cheek against the stock with the familiarity of someone who'd done this thousands of times. And then, without warning, she whispered a name under her breath, a man's name, as if calling out to a ghost only she could see. A name that made Halle freeze. Halle didn't recognize the name, she whispered, but the way her voice cracked around it made him understand one thing instantly. This mission was in Teej's duty for her. It was personal. The last rays of sunlight faded behind the mountains, leaving the valley swallowed in shifting blues and shadows. The outpost fell unnervingly quiet, as if even the wind was holding its breath. The camera would push slowly toward Maya's face, calm, focused, yet carrying a storm behind her eyes. Night vision scopes flickered green across the ridgeline. The seals kept scanning, restless, still not convinced anyone could face the enemy sharpshooters who had tormented them for weeks. But Maya didn't scan the horizon like the others. She watched its edges, the places where shadows moved differently, where silence was too perfect. She studied patterns the way only someone who had lived inside the craft could. Minutes passed, then an hour. A drone buzzed overhead, its faint hum drifting across the valley. Radios crackled with routine check-ins, but Maya didn't move, not even to drink water. Her breathing stayed steady, deep, like she was sinking herself with the darkness itself. Haley crouched beside her, you waiting for something. She didn't blink. Everyone thinks they're unstoppable because no one has seen them, she replied quietly. But they've seen us. They're watching us right now. The words hit the seals harder than any gunshot. Tail's grip tightened around his rifle. If they're watching, they'll fire soon, Maya whispered. Not at us. At the convoy returning from the northern road. They've hit it twice before. They'll hit it again tonight. The outpost went still. Because she was right, the convoy was due any minute. Maya adjusted her scope by a fraction, breathing out slowly. They're not ghosts, she murmured. They're predictable, skilled, yes. Deadly, yes. But they follow patterns. Her eyes narrowed. And patterns can be broken. Far off in the distance, engines rumbled. The first truck headlights cut through the darkness, weaving down the dusty mountain path like two floating stars. The seals raised their scopes, bracing for the inevitable. Then it came, a flash. A single muzzle flare from the ridge. The crack of a high-velocity round followed half a second later, slicing through the air and shattering the side mirror of the lead vehicle. The seals ducked instinctively. Maya didn't. She already had the location pinned before the flash even died out. Her finger rested on the trigger with the stillness of a heartbeat held in time. One, she whispered. The shot rang out, sharp, precise, final. Silence. Halleys stared at her. Did you? Wait, she said. Another flash erupted from a different ridge, a second sniper reacting to the fall of the first. Maya didn't flinch. She tracked the movement, reading the slight delay in his position. Her next shot tore through the darkness with surgical accuracy. At 2. The seals watched her like she was something unreal, something carved out of war itself. But Maya wasn't done. She exhaled long and slow, as if steadying something deeper inside her. Come on, she whispered into the night. Show me the rest of you. And somewhere in the mountains, another sniper prepared to fire back. The valley seemed alive now, pulsing with danger and tension. Every ridge, every shadow, every faint movement carried the weight of death. Maya's breathing was steady, almost serene, but beneath it lay a current of raw intensity that only those who had stared death in the eye could feel. The camera would pan slowly across her scope as she adjusted for distance and wind, each motion deliberate, measured, controlled. Every microsecond counted. Behind her, the seals huddled in silence, jaws tight, hearts hammering. Hale whispered, She's not human, but even he knew that wasn't true. Maya was all too human, fierce, fragile, and shaped by losses they couldn't even begin to imagine. She had trained for this moment. Yes, but she had also lived for it, borne the pain of what the enemy had done to her unit weeks ago, and now carried it like armor. The third sniper revealed himself on a narrow outcropping. Maya didn't hesitate. She tracked the slight sway of his rifle as he adjusted his scope, calculated the distance, estimated the wind shift. Her finger eased the trigger. The recoil barely moved her. The camera would zoom in, catching the moment the shot left the barrel, a perfect, lethal whisper that ended a life instantly. 3, she said softly, almost like counting beads on a string. The seals didn't dare breathe. They had been pinned down by these enemy snipers for too long. Entire squads had fallen. Missions had failed. And now, in the middle of the night, one woman was rewriting the rules of survival in real time. Maya's eyes scanned the ridges again. 2 more snipers moved into view, their positions almost too perfect to hit, but she didn't hesitate. Years of experience, a lifetime of focus, and a single-minded determination fused in her movements. She shifted slightly, adjusted her scope, and squeezed the trigger. 2 shots echoed almost simultaneously across the valley, claiming the 4th and 5th enemies before they even realized they had been seen. The seals stared, mouths open, disbelief etched into every line of their faces. Hale finally spoke, voice rough. How? How is she doing this? Maya didn't answer. Her attention was fixed on the last sniper, the one who had been the phantom, the ghost that had eluded everyone for weeks. He had killed more men than she could count, and now he stood just beyond the reach of most, crouched behind a jagged rock, eyes scanning the darkness for prey. He didn't know that tonight the hunter had become the hunted. She shifted her rifle, heart steady but eyes burning with focus. Memories of fallen friends, missions gone wrong, and nights spent training alone surged inside her, feeding the fire that pushed her to keep going. This wasn't just a mission anymore. This was vengeance, precision, and justice, all in one heartbeat. The sniper moved again, adjusting his aim, unaware that Maya had already calculated the wind drift and distance. Her next shot would decide everything. 1 heartbeat, 1 breath, 1 shot, and either the last phantom would survive or the night would belong to her. She exhaled slowly, aiming for the smallest sliver of exposed target. The camera would follow the bullet's path in a slow-motion arc, capturing the quiet terror of the sniper who never saw it coming. Then silence. A single figure fell against the rocks. The last ghost had been caught. But the victory came with a cost. Hale's voice broke the quiet. She's incredible. Maya lowered her rifle, eyes scanning the empty ridges. Feeling the weight of every life she'd seen taken, every shot she'd made, and every moment that had led her to this night. And somewhere, deep in the valley, a storm of emotions surged inside her: relief, grief, exhaustion, and a quiet, terrible satisfaction. The valley was eerily quiet now, the kind of silence that stretches too long after chaos. Maya lowered her rifle, her hands trembling slightly, not from fear, but from the weight of what she'd just done. The camera would pan across the ridges, once alive with deadly intent, now empty and still. Like a battlefield paused mid. The enemy snipers, the ones who had terrorized her unit, were gone, eliminated with surgical precision, and yet the night felt heavy, almost mournful. Hale and the other SEALs approached slowly, their usual swagger replaced by reverence. They had seen skilled marksmen before, but nothing like this. Not just skill, but a presence, calm, calculated, and utterly unflinching under fire. "You saved them all," Hale said, his voice barely above a whisper. Maya didn't respond. She simply packed her rifle, the metallic click echoing like a drumbeat through the night. Every movement was deliberate, almost ceremonial. The convoy had passed safely, unaware of how close it had come to disaster. Maya watched the trucks disappear down the winding mountain path, headlights fading into the darkness. Relief washed over her, but it was tempered by memory of friends lost, of missions gone wrong, and the faces of those she couldn't save. She had learned long ago that victory in war is always shadowed by loss. The camera would follow her footsteps back to the outpost, the moonlight catching on her worn gear, highlighting the fatigue etched into her face. Inside the base, the SEALs gathered around, offering quiet congratulations. Words felt insufficient here. They knew they had witnessed something extraordinary, something that would be told and retold in hushed tones. But Maya barely acknowledged them. She removed her gloves, ran her hands through her hair, and stared into the distance. Her eyes reflected not triumph, but the weight of responsibility, of knowing what it took to survive when others could not. Hale finally broke the silence. "Maya, why? How did you know?" She looked at him then, her gaze steady but distant. "Because I've been the one they thought they couldn't touch," she said quietly. "I've learned to watch patterns, to anticipate, to wait, and when it counts, to strike." She paused, and the faintest tremor in her voice betrayed the emotions she refused to voice. "I've lost too many to guess wrong." The SEALs fell silent, understanding more in that moment than any explanation could convey. War isn't just about tactics or courage. It's about endurance, about carrying the weight of every life in your hands and the burden of every shot that decides fate. Maya had carried all of it tonight, with precision, with skill, and with a quiet resolve that left everyone in awe. Outside, the first light of dawn began to seep across the valley. Dust hung in the air, catching the sun in muted golden streaks. Maya stood at the edge of the outpost, taking in the scene, the mountains silent, the convoys gone, the snipers no longer a threat. A deep sigh escaped her, almost imperceptible, as if the night's tension had been physically drawn out of her body. And yet, even as relief settled over the outpost, a shadow lingered inside her. The price of this night, the memories, the ghosts, the faces of those she had lost and could never forget, would remain. The camera would close in on her face, eyes reflecting the calm and storm within, a hero shaped by fire and loss. But as the sun rose fully, one question remained. How long could one person bear to face ghosts and live to tell the tale? The sun had fully risen now, spilling pale light across the valley, painting the mountains in gold and shadow. The outpost stirred with quiet movement, soldiers beginning the day, but Maya remained at the edge, watching, thinking. Her rifle was slung across her back, but it felt heavier than ever, not with weight, but with the gravity of what she had done. The camera would circle her slowly, capturing the tension in her shoulders, the haunted depth in her eyes, and the faint tremor of exhaustion she refused to show aloud. Hayla approached, hesitating for a moment before speaking. You did what no one thought possible. All of them gone. His voice carried all disbelief and respect in equal measure. Maya didn't smile. She had learned that smiles in war were often hollow. Instead, she shook her head slightly, letting the words hang between them. They were never ghosts, she said softly. They were skilled, dangerous, but they weren't unstoppable. The seals began to gather around her, murmuring quietly among themselves, eyes still wide with admiration. They had seen many heroes in their time, but none like her, a woman who had faced the impossible, who had outthought and outshot snipers who had terrified experienced teams for weeks. Her calm under fire, her precision, and her ability to anticipate the enemy had saved lives tonight. And yet, even with all the respect she had earned, Maya felt the hollow echo of loneliness. She had trained for this, lived for this, and still the weight of it was hers alone to bear. A young SEAL stepped forward, voice shaking. Lieutenant, how did you do it? How did you face all of them and win? Maya knelt down, looking him directly in the eyes, letting him see not just the soldier, but the person shaped by experience, loss, and survival.